Darren, already in the comments, man. Good afternoon, good evening. It's late. I apologize. I've been hanging out at the zoo with the wife and the baby, and I'm just getting home. So sorry,
The
we're a
literal
couple
zoo.
minutes late. The
He
literal
was at the
zoo.
literal zoo. He wasn't in a
Yeah,
figurative, zoo.
it frequently is a zoo with a small child, but yeah, no, this was a literal zoo. But hey, welcome in. Sharpen the point. Week 7 recap. Week 8 preview, as it says, you know, down here. Boy, it feels like the obvious place before we really jump into the games is kind of what Darren has in the comments to start the day. James Franklin already fired 15 days after he had the number 3 team in the country and was holding hands with a Nittany Lion costumed Nick Saban on college game day. Stunned that it happened, but it felt like it was certainly warranted. It just was surprising that it actually happened.
Yeah, especially when they could have saved $8 million by waiting until the end of the year. But at the point with Drew Aller going out, you kind of knew the season was over at that point. After you lose to UCLA, which is a dumpster fire, you lose to Northwestern, another dumpster fire. Drew Aller hadn't thrown for 250 yards in what feels like an eternity. Nick Singleton stinks now, apparently. And Katron Allen's about the only relative offense that they have at this point. The defense isn't very, good. We kind of talked about that last week. Denai Dennis Sutton just is not the next guy in a long line of pass rushers. So, man, I just where do they go from here? We both agree that the first call is to Kurt Cignetti. It's very clear.
Has to be. I think it has to be. Whether that's the correct answer or not, even if I mean, my question would be, it's similar to the one I brought to the table for Lane Kiffin, right? If you have everything you have at Indiana, you're already number 3 in the country. What more do you need, especially at Cignetti being 61?
Yeah, but so here's where I've seen everybody kind of parrot. So a lot of people say Cignetti's gonna be the first call, and I don't disagree. He will
I think
be.
it has to be. It's malpractice if it's not.
Yeah. And then I've seen a lot of people say, well, he's never going to leave Indiana. Well, why wouldn't he? He wants to leave. Like Darren doesn't want him, but it's fair.
I think
But
it's fair.
there's two parts to it, right? Number one, can he realistically, what are the resources he has at Indiana? There is money at Indiana. It's kind of a misconception that they don't have money. They have a ton of money, but Penn State, you get the prestige and the recruiting footprint. In this era, he can literally do exactly what he did at JMU, uproot the entire staff, the entire good part of the roster, and put it at Penn State and take all the good from the Penn State, get rid of all the trash that is left behind, and then implant his own team again, right back where, exactly like what he did with the JMU team when he implanted it. And we still are calling it JMU North because all their best players came from JMU on the defensive side of the football. And there's a reason they were the number 1 run defense in the country. And he took the entire coaching staff with him. Sans, now he's got his former quarterback coaches available, but the point being, he was the head coach at IUPUI before he went to Elon. So he was at IUPI for a long time. He left Alabama as the head recruiter for Nick Saban to go to IUPUI and be the head coach. And then built to Elon, built to JMU, built to Indiana, won at every stop. Not necessarily as much at Elon, but that's traditionally a terrible program. But he did go there and win at the likes they have never won before. And he's been a head coach in Pennsylvania before. He knows the recruiting footprint. I think it makes far too much sense. He would pick this job over Florida 10 times out of 10.
I think he certainly should if he was given the option. I mean, if those are two on the table, that's certainly an argument I stand by. A couple things at you. Darren mentioned it here. Matt Rule was the first name that seemingly came out there, which to me felt immediately like Matt Rule's agent rushing to the brink and being like, "Hey, I think
Yeah.
Matt's going to be interested here."
I feel like
Because
that's
Nebraska ain't
him
going like it's supposed to.
Well, that's him trying to reset the clock to an extent. And he was successful at Temple, so I think he likes the Pennsylvania area. Now, granted, Temple is a vast different place than Happy Valley is. So I would say that's a tough sell for me. I asked Andre, I said, so what are you looking for? I said, who do you want as the next coach? I would like to read the exact word for word because I really enjoyed my response
This is
to this.
our friend who's a Penn State alum, big fan, all the nine
Yes.
yards. Yeah.
I said, who's your ideal candidates? I'm going to have to talk about this later, and I'm curious what a Penn State fan thinks. He said, not big on names. I'll give you the prototype. Low ego, explosive offensive mind with a proven ability to score against good teams. I said, so you want Andy Kotelnicki to be the head coach?
I was thinking he was going for, well, Lane Kiffin doesn't check small ego, but so name that I think is certainly possible that will always comes up and never lands is Matt Campbell. I'm curious if this is a job that actually gets Matt Campbell to pull the trigger on leaving Iowa State.
It
It
would.
just feels like he's always in the mix. He's never talked about. I'm curious if this is a spot where, and I understand the jump it would be, but Dan Mullen, um,
That's a bold call.
right?
That's a bold one. I don't know if they're willing to take that risk. I think Matt Campbell is a very good fit.
Yeah.
Based on the way he runs a Big Ten style program, he always has from Toledo all the way through to Iowa State. And you have the added advantage. Now, I don't know if he can convince him to do this, but Rocco's still got another year. Can he bring Rocco with him to Penn State? Because they need a quarterback. Point blank, they need a quarterback. I don't think Drew Aller has any eligibility left. If he does, I don't think he's going to use it. Let's see. Where's his stats? Yeah, he doesn't have any eligibility left. So unless he only played 4 games in 2022. But even still, I think he probably goes pro either which way. His stock is only going to go down. I think I could see Rocco going with Matt Campbell to Penn State and playing there. Otherwise, you're looking at coordinators for the most part. I mean, are there really any great head coaches out and available right now?
Well, I mean, you can always run into the situation like when LSU hired Brian Kelly, it was a total surprise out of thin air. Where all of a sudden he was up and moving. I mean, I can't imagine someone like Marcus Freeman would ever leave Notre Dame at the rate he has Notre Dame going. But do you just go make a gigantic offer to a coach like that? Obviously, Cristobal's not leaving Miami. I mean, do you go find that guy? I mean, I'm sure some Penn State fan out there is banging the drum for go make Nick Saban say no, but you have an idea, and I'm going to wrap this on whatever your idea is.
Oh, I just figured out low ego offensive mind is it. This is it, Josh Heupel. He would fit perfectly. Low ego, offensive minded coach.
Well, and I think that's leaving Tennessee. I mean, where is he at with Tennessee? Did he play at Tennessee though?
No, he played at Oklahoma, and that went very poorly with Bob Stoops because there was rumors that could he come back and take the Venables spot and lead Oklahoma going forward. But his tenure at Oklahoma ended in a disastrous way as he was the offensive coordinator, and Bob Stoops was kind of forced to shut him out the door, and it went really poorly. I think Heupel would be a great fit. I wonder if you could pry him away from Tennessee. He could easily have a Phil Fulmer run at Tennessee. So it would be very difficult to get rid of him. But we're seriously across college football right now lacking young up-and-coming coaches. And it's specifically for these like high-end jobs that aren't kind of locked into high-end jobs already. Marcus Freeman's not leaving unless he gets the Ohio State job, I think. I think that's the one job he would go to. But otherwise, it's a dearth of talent at the moment.
Because an interesting name, but I don't think A&M is going to lose that money battle there, Darren.
No.
One name I'll throw out there, which will lead us to the games here, would be, if you were going to go up and coming head coach, it's a long way to go. But Alex Golesh and what he's doing here with USF, I mean, in terms of young up and coming offensive mind, that USF team is I mean, I see a lot of Memphis and Navy being the game to decide the Group of 5 playoff team. I really
Yeah.
don't know how that loss to Miami has seemingly disqualified USF. I mean, Miami might be the best team in the country, and that's the only team that's really done much of anything against this USF team. They're very good. Going to North Texas and absolutely destroy them on Friday night. Put up 63. Could have had 70 if they wanted it.
Yeah.
USF to me, it's going to take some impressive action to not have them as my G5 playoff team at the rate they're playing.
If they can run the table, they're in. I just don't know if they could beat Memphis in the long run. They're one heck of a good team, though. You know, we talked about them preseason. That was the underrated game of the week this week. Another win for me. Apparently, I know how to bet on the G5 games because I keep getting those right. Like I've gotten the underrated game of the week. That's 6. I think I'm 4-2 in the underrated game of the week. Money line too.
We talked about this last week, and I asked you this question, and it's always to me a great place to start. Who do you know is good? As you sit here today, we're roughly halfway through this season. You know who is good because I've got maybe 4 I'm willing to give that to.
I'll be honest with you. I have 1. I think it's only Ohio State. It's the guy behind me because he's the only difference maker. Like he's the biggest difference maker in all of college football. That's the one thing that it's the easy button. You know, that it's the one thing that any team can spam and win a game with is Jeremiah. Like I don't see another team that has the defense capable of just shutting a team down. I mean, they absolutely strangled the life out of Illinois in that game, and they were not dominant on offense. They were not very good on offense at all. They ran for 100 yards in that game. They threw for 166. They had 275 yards of offense, and that game never felt in question.
So I certainly agree. They're going to be one of my. I'm going to go 5 teams that I know are good. Ohio State, obviously, like you said, everything that you just mentioned, they've obviously reloaded big time from last year. They're just as good, just as capable. What's funny is I'm gonna do the Ryan Day thing when I know he won the big one last year. He like lost the 2 big ones, so I do think that's still in him. And if they manage to run the table in the regular season, I'm gonna do the opposite of what I should have done with Oregon last year, which is bet that they will definitely lose the big one when the time comes. I know Indiana is good.
I don't. I really don't. Because, and I'll tell you why. I thought about that too, because that was the next game I had on my head. Yes, Indiana went to Oregon, went to Eugene. That's a big time win. I don't know how good Oregon is because I don't think their defense is very good. Because I don't know that Oregon's very good. I think they're solid for a regular season team, but they're nowhere near the team they were a year ago. I still haven't seen Indiana dominate a very good or win a very big game, a very good team. That goes back to the same question though, right? If I say Oregon's good, then I say Indiana's good, like really good.
You just gave Ohio State the credit against Illinois and didn't give Indiana the same credit against the same Illinois team. It becomes a circle at this point. Ohio State and Indiana are 1-2 in the Big Ten, and everyone else can file in line behind them.
I just feel like Ohio State is a different level.
And that's fair.
But I think Indiana's not 20 points even in the same ballpark as Indiana. Like Ohio State is 20 points better than Indiana.
I got Miami in the group. I don't think anyone in the ACC is touching Miami at this point. They're going to run the table, and I don't see it. Florida State obviously was a total facade, a fraud. Mike Norvell may be heading the same way as James Franklin before we know it here. I would have bet that Norvell was more likely to be fired during the season than Franklin, but I guess his, the contract there, maybe obviously the Franklin thing is absurd too, but that's interesting. So I've got Miami, Ohio State, Indiana. I know Texas Tech is good.
Dude, I'm telling you, I told you a couple weeks ago, I thought that betting a future for Texas Tech to win the national title was not wrong. They are now 17-1. They were 35-1 when I looked at it originally, when I wanted to bet it. I think their defensive line is legit. I think they have 2 legit running backs. I think they have a stable of wide receivers. They paid for a whole bunch of linemen and a whole bunch of line recruits. Remember, they have the number 1 recruit in the tackle in the country coming there. They also have 2 very good quarterbacks, which they need because my guy Bayron cannot stay healthy, although they're saying he could be back next week. He did miss most of this game going out early in the second quarter. They're stacked. There is no team as good as Miami is, and as much credit as Miami gets for being that much better than the rest of the ACC. Texas Tech is that much better than every other team in the Big 12. I don't think anybody even is within 20 of them in the Big 12. Now, I don't think if they play Ohio State, they're going to need somebody else to knock Ohio State off because Ohio State's just as good, if not better, along the lines of scrimmage, and they're better at every skill position too. So that's the problem. I think Texas Tech is legit. If somebody can upset Ohio State and they just get lucky, then Texas Tech can win this national championship. They are a legit title contender. I think they can play with Miami, no doubt about it.
It's going to come down to the draw for a lot of these teams in terms of how the playoff structure shakes out on who legitimately has a chance. For me, those are the 4 going away. I said 5, and I don't know where 5 came from because I don't like any other 5 that I'm looking at.
You wanted to say Alabama.
I do think Alabama's there,
but them losing to Florida State just ruins it.
Well, yes and no. I mean, like I told you before week 1, I saw that loss coming. But the way they've rebounded is really good. I mean, look, if I'm going, those are the 4 that I'm going to put ahead as the clear leaders in the clubhouse at this point. Like you said, Ohio State, I think, is head and shoulders as the 1 at this point. Miami's right there with them, though. The next group for me of teams that I think can legitimately win the title, I just don't think A&M is going to have the consistency on offense, though the run game continues to look great. When they run into these teams, I don't think it's there. If you can't hide your quarterback forever, the receiving core has been great for them, though. I don't trust Reed. If he continues to do it for a few more weeks, I feel like at some point I have to because his Florida defense has been great otherwise. But Reed and the gang made him look kind of pedestrian this past week. Alabama, Ty Simpson is looking fantastic. I feel like they've got to check the box there. I don't have the confidence in Ole Miss. I think the defense isn't good. Trinidad Chambliss looked kind of pedestrian this past week. I'm curious. I am very excited to talk about them in Georgia in a second.
I was going to say, I would take umbrage that Chambliss looked bad.
He looked okay. I
don't know that it was him. They just struggled in the red. We'll talk about it in a second.
I think they totally look pedestrian. Otherwise, teams I think that have a legitimate chance to actually win the championship, Notre Dame.
No.
You don't think so? I mean,
no.
The defense has looked better, and good God, this offense looks like a freight train. You have Jeremiah Love, and CJ Carr has been great. I understand you played Arkansas; they're terrible. NC State is fine at best. If Notre Dame gets in
NC State's not making a bowl game.
If this Notre Dame team makes the playoff, do you think they lose to Indiana?
Yeah.
You don't think? If they catch Miami, they catch Miami on a neutral site again instead of going on the road for game 1?
They lose. Miami's too good along the lines of scrimmage for Notre Dame. Notre Dame's offensive line's banged up too much unless Jagasaw can somehow come back and get fully healthy. I'll be honest with you. I think we're going to talk about Notre Dame next week.
Okay.
We're going to get to them.
Just quickly run it. I'm going to run through the rest of the list here, just of teams that actually have a legit, like in the rankings wise, the teams I don't think have a chance. Oregon, I don't think has a chance. They just don't look good enough.
Yeah. They're gonna be there. They're gonna be there. I just don't know. They're gonna need somebody else to not play their best. I don't think they can run the table in that sense. They don't have the weapons on the outside.
Again, Georgia needs to show me a whole hell of a lot more than they have. They just look wildly inconsistent on both sides of the ball. Tennessee, I don't believe at all.
No.
Georgia Tech, we've talked them as an ACC team. Through 6 weeks, it feels like they're just playing close games and getting by. I feel like at some point that's just not good. Luck's going to run out there. LSU seemingly found something of a run game. Nussmeier still looks like a disaster with turnover machines. He threw the ball a lot better. The defense still looks great. But I can't believe a team that cannot run the ball can win the title. Oklahoma, I think,
That's Oklahoma. That's my problem with Oklahoma. If Oklahoma had 2023 Jaden Ott, then I would say Oklahoma's a legitimate title contender. They just don't have a run game.
I think Missouri showed what would happen when they play a good team, and then below that, I have no interest in anyone else. I mean, I don't think Texas has a legitimate chance. I think Arch still looked terrible in the game this weekend.
Oh yeah, but I want to go back to Missouri. Did Bo Primula look like Drew Aller or what? Like that was a Spider-Man meme if I've ever seen it. Drew Aller.
You'd be hard pressed to find a funnier final play of a game than him throwing the pick and in the bottom of the screen, the receiver wide open, jumping up and down, banging on the field. Like, give me the damn, like, I couldn't have been more open. It's such a funny visual. It was a hilarious way to end that football game. Yeah, yeah. I do a joke thing with my friends where I rank the top 10 quarterbacks in the country, and I had Bo Pribula in the top 10, and one of my friends was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And I was like, I don't know, man. Watched this weekend. I was like, yeah, you're right. My bad. Look, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll wear it. It's okay. My bad. It's all right. We make mistakes.
Look, I think that everybody was on I think Penn State might have kept the wrong quarterback, and then they saw this week, nah, we were just bad all around. We didn't have a choice. We were just in a bad spot.
Quickly, anything else from these results from this past weekend? We kind of touched on them as we went through. I think Arch still looked bad against Oklahoma. That was a special teams and defense victory for me. Wisner popped a couple of big runs when Oklahoma, for some reason, forgot to tackle. It's like they came out of half and just didn't know how to tackle anymore. That was really bizarre for that team. Talked about it. Texas Tech is just a wagon at this point.
Golly. Look, you know the game you're going to get to. Although I do want to shout out our boy, friend of the show, Desmond Reed from last year. 8 catches, 155, and 2 touchdowns right from the get-go of coming back from his injury. He was 5K on DK last week and was in the 100K winning lineup. I should have been on that more. I'm going to take umbrage with your Trinidad Chambliss was terrible. He was 20 of 29 for 253 and 2 touchdowns. He did not run the football particularly well. It was the sacks that were getting to them. The offensive line played like dog doo-doo. They ran the ball fairly well with Keywan Lacey, but they had multiple instances where they did not convert on 4th downs in the red area. They missed a field goal. There was a lot of points left on the board by Ole Miss. It was not Lane Kiffin's best work. We've seen it before. We've seen it once. We've seen it twice. He does this in these games.
Well, I didn't say he was terrible. I said he was rather pedestrian, which, you know,
he wasn't Heisman worthy.
Given the way he's played, yes. I didn't understand how he was like second in the Heisman betting, and he put that game on tape, and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
He's dropped behind CJ Carr, and I will have you know, well, he's dropped way down, actually. He's way down now. Arkansas put a fight up against Tennessee. Joey Aguilar keeps coming through. Deshaun Bishop, it looked like, had a rolled ankle late in that one. I think he got a little banged up. I don't know if he came back from that or not, but he had 14 carries for 146 before he went out. And Taylor Green had a really good game. He's going to pop up and do that. Arkansas will sneak some people late in the year. Like you talked about, I thought Nussmeier played pretty well. He spammed the trade as Green button over and again. Probably should have played him in a DFS lineup. If I was doing a Nussmeier double, that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Some people do. I do want to touch on USC. Big win for the Trojans. Yeah. Underwood still does not look great, but they have a kid. I told you about him when we were talking about Andrew Marsh. Was absurd in that game. He had 8 for 138 and 1. The freshman wide receiver Justice Haynes got hurt early in that one. It didn't really matter too much. I think they would have been better with him, but Jordan Marshall was serviceable. They did not get much out of Underwood's legs. Wayman Jordan did leave this game early for USC. They were down their top 3 running backs, and King Miller came out of nowhere for 158 yards and a touchdown, and he did not touch a football until late in midway through that game. Maeva still looks great. He can spam it to Micaiah Lemon and Jacoby Lane whenever he wants. They are a very dangerous team. I want to see them play this week coming up. That's going to be a big one. Look, if we don't touch on the officiating in this Auburn
That's the last
game,
thing I was going to say, yeah.
I saved it because you and me were talking about it last night. It was the single worst officiated game I have ever seen in my life. There was 40 minutes to finish the half for 2 minutes of game time. We watched, no lie, a 15-minute replay to figure out that Jackson Arnold fumbled, even though I legitimately think he did score. Now, would that have changed the game or not? I don't know.
Well, it would have been 17-0 sub 1 minute in the first half. I mean,
Hugh Freeze is a massive puss, ending on the sidelines over there. Jackson Arnold ain't it. I can tell you that right now. Cam Coleman is a spam button they've tried to use, but Jackson Arnold can't. Like you said, I think Gunnar Stockton did have a concussion. Dylan Bell with the single worst trick play throw of all time when he had Zach Branch without a defender within 15 yards of him, and he overthrew him out of bounds. Don't know what he was doing. The timeout that wasn't a timeout.
Yeah, that's one of the more bizarre things. I've been saying all day, it's the one play I just can't understand. I have never seen that in my he's clearly calling timeout.
This is
not an argument.
That's him clapping.
And I get it. I've seen the Georgia people on Twitter all day saying it's just Kirby being a genius and he's just smarter than everyone. It's just it's Bush League. To me, I think it warrants a fine.
I don't see how it does it. I mean, he can argue he's clapping all he wants, but his mouth is clearly mouthing time out.
After he gets the timeout, then he starts complaining that the guy's clapping. He doesn't start. He's looking up at the scoreboard doing this. He's not looking at a player. He's looking up at the score regardless. I simply could not understand. And I'm always if you talk to my wife, the game was fixed. She went to Auburn. She thinks it's a clear case of cheating, but I am always on the side of officiating is one-sided because it's incompetent, not because it is pre-planned. This was incompetence that continually spiraled over and over again. One thing I do want to just put out there, and I want to quickly get to the games for this upcoming week because I like a bunch of them, but I do feel like the touchdown, non-touchdown on the field for Jackson Arnold's sneak was very clearly, to me, they had no idea what happened on the field. It took a full 2 minutes to figure out what happened. And they just arbitrarily said, well, it's a fumble, but it's going to be a fumble in Georgia's book. Because if it was live on the field and it was actually a fumble, it was a touchdown for Georgia. Because Georgia picked it up and ran the other way. They had no clue. So they just decided, well, let's go with fumble. Because I'm assuming fumble is the easier call to change, right? Yeah. If you say touchdown, you then have a hard time deciding it's a fumble. If you say fumble, it's a much easier way to say, ball across the goal line, it's a touchdown. Why did they have to make a call on the field when they clearly had no clue? They clearly were just flat guessing.
Look, I've long said the officials should have the capability to, if they know they just have no clue what the heck just happened, just say, we're going to go review this. We have no idea. We don't know what happened. We didn't see it. Now, the other thing I have a problem with is, how in the world do you have one of the top, that's probably a top 3 game of the day of importance, and we got one goal line angle from one side of the field. We don't have a second camera over there that can
One
view the other
pylon
side.
camera, grainy, fuzzy garbage.
Yeah, like how there's so much money in this. Like we need chips in the ball. We've said it forever. We need chips in the ball, very similar to technology that tennis has had for years and years and years, and they have nowhere near the money that football does. They have this technology in soccer. They have similar money to what all of football does. How do we not have the capability to have a chip in this football to tell us it reached the goal line and it didn't? It's coming. I know it's coming because the NFL is getting close to it and they have it. But at the same time, man, I don't see how you can say he fumbled that football. We needed the spider cam directly over. Maybe I don't know. That was just so poor.
Last full complaint on the issue, and no one has brought this up, but when Jackson Arnold does actually fumble the ball and it lands on top of the pile, number 0 for Auburn has the ball literally laying on both of his thighs. He puts his hands around that ball, it's a touchdown. But instead of picking up the ball, he like climbs over it to get into the end zone to celebrate. If you're out there for some reason, if someone playing football is listening to the sound of my voice, if you are in or near the end zone or anywhere on the field and the ball hits you in the thighs, I recommend you pick it up.
I also recommend you don't drop it before you go in the end zone. Let's wait until we pass the end line before we drop the football.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Golly.
Looking ahead to next weekend, we've got Louisville at Miami. You have any interest there?
No, I think Louisville's toast right now. They're just not good enough along the lines of scrimmage. Miami's going to feast there. I think we're going to see. I actually have taken a part of the day off just to be able to watch this game, and I don't think it's going to end up being a very good one. Luckily, I have other plans early in the day.
Yeah, I don't really have much interest in the Friday slate this week. Nebraska's on the road at Minnesota, but nothing there really jumps off the page. Otherwise,
I like that game as a money line. By the way, I've already bet that game. I like Minnesota in that one. I think Darius Taylor will be back and healthy, and we saw kind of what Maryland was able to do offensively against that Nebraska team on the road.
LSU is an underdog at Vanderbilt this upcoming week on ABC. It's the noon kickoff on Saturday. That's a surprising situation, I guess, but not really if you've given the teams. I am surprised that the line is currently at Vandy minus points, because I think just given reputations, that doesn't make sense to a lot of people in terms of betting, casuals, and those things. So I assume that line's going to move as this week goes. But I don't know, man. LSU should have beaten South Carolina probably by 20 this week. Had some really bad turnovers right at the goal line twice. I just think they're better than Vanderbilt.
I bet LSU. I bet them money line. I took the plus money already and laid a little bit there. I figured I got a whole bunch of money line bets in already. I got them at 110. You can get them at 114 on other books. I just went ahead and took it already. I think the defense will be able to stifle Pavia, and the life that we saw out of this LSU offense, I'm fine with, because Vanderbilt's defense is similar to South Carolina's defense from my
and I do think LSU showed you in game 1 and last week what a healthy Trey'Dez Green does for them. He was hurt in that week 2 game. He's a 6'7" tight end, runs like a gazelle, and he plays basketball. Clearly, when they get in the red area, they want to just throw it up to him, but they use him all over the field. Yesterday, I can't imagine Vanderbilt's got someone who can match up with 6'7", and if they do, clearly LSU's got the speed and the rest of the receiving core to make it difficult. So he's an impossible matchup, and I think LSU wants to just kind of be able to say, here's your panic button. Us, you don't know what to do, just throw it up near 14. And I think that will help their offense going forward. And the run game looked a lot better this week. I assume they're going to make a right tackle change this week too. So I do also like LSU there. Georgia Tech is a road dog, number 12 team in the country, heading to Duke. That's also
the biggest shock. That is the biggest shocker on the thing. I bet. So I normally have a certain amount that I put on moneyline sprinkles. I doubled it for this one because that line makes zero sense. Duke has no defense. Like they're going to be able to spam the run game over and over and over again to win
Yeah.
this game.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by it too, just looking at it, because it's the same thing like you said. I feel like we assigned Duke credit earlier before the season started, probably for buying Darian Mensah and kind of everything that goes with the Manny Diaz defense, and they just don't. I don't think any of that's come to fruition. I think Mensah's looked okay, and the defenses look bad.
I
And
think
so
Mensah's looked good. Mensah's thrown average. I think he's throwing 300 yards a game, but the defense is so terrible.
right.
And we talk about constantly, oh, well, Georgia Tech plays bad against these, mid-level ACC teams that they should be dominating. They don't dominate them, like a Virginia Tech, which they did dominate, or like a Wake Forest or something like that. Then make them a dog to Wake Forest. So like they were a massive favorite against Wake Forest. They don't do that, but then all of a sudden we get to Duke and they're a dog. I think Georgia Tech actually comes out and smokes Duke for the simple fact that they're a dog, and now they can go, hey, look, we're underdogs going into this game, and then they'll actually play hard.
Two teams that aren't ranked that I'm in, two games here in this noon window, really three that aren't ranked games that I have interest in. Washington's at Michigan. Michigan is a 5.5 point favorite there. I think that's worthy of a Washington sprinkle.
Yep, I already took that one.
Yeah, and I've also here Arizona is at Houston. Houston only a 2.5 point favorite. I like Houston here as more than 2.5 points.
I do as well. Connor Weigman looked healthy. Amari Thomas is their number one wide receiver. That was definitely my best call of the week, was to play those two with Dean Connors, the former Rice running back, as my triple stack. But I do love that Washington play. I have bet that already. I think Washington could beat, especially if Justice Haynes is out. Washington's could be very dangerous.
Last one in this window, and honestly, I've got another one because it's technically 12:45 here after this. But Baylor at TCU, over under is near 70 in this one. It's 67.5. TCU's a 2.5 point favorite. You're nodding already. I'll just let you go.
Oh, I already bet the Baylor. TCU looked horrible last week. They looked terrible.
Dragged against Kansas State last week. That was
Josh Hoover was awful. We don't know what the deal. Like Jordan Dwyer's just gone missing. Manjack wasn't good. They spammed Eric McAllister late in that game with 2 garbage touchdowns. That was annoying to say the least. They cost me a couple $100. I think Baylor's going to be very, very up for this one. They're going to be healthy coming out of that bye week. Short travel for them from Waco. I think Baylor takes this one with the run game specifically standing out with Bryson Washington.
And I can't get out of this new window. I've got another one here jumping off the page at me. It's number 14 Oklahoma at South Carolina. Oklahoma's a 5.5 point favorite on the road. The spread over under here is 43.5. I thought Lenore Sellers looked really good this past weekend. I think it's limited weapons and LSU secondary, especially Mansour Delane being just impossible to throw the ball on. But I mean, he got out of some really tight windows, managed to turn things around. We talked before about how he wasn't running the ball earlier this year. He was running the ball really well this past weekend. I don't think Oklahoma's particularly that good to begin with. Mateer trying to come back from this surgery like 2 weeks ago on the road. I like sprinkling South Carolina here as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's worth buying. I did not buy that one. I like Oklahoma's defense, and I don't like South Carolina's defense particularly. So I'm that's where I'm at with it. But I think this is a close game, no doubt about it.
We gave up on the Texas A&M and Arkansas game at Jerry World.
Yeah,
this one's in Fayetteville apparently. So A&M is a 7.5 point favorite on the road here. We just mentioned Arkansas really gave Tennessee a game this past week. I continue to be iffy on Marcel Reed. I don't know if I can get myself all the way to Arkansas here, but in terms of just college football type things and my general, I think this team needs to lose probably 2 games, if not 3. I wouldn't be terribly surprised if A&M dropped this one, but it's not one that I'm really willing to go out and grab.
I would not go out and grab it. We know a bow season started last week, so there's going to be no fans in the stands. I did had a guy tell me that bow season started last week at work last week, so I was able to learn. So they won't have any fans at that game.
Ole Miss at Georgia, number 5 at number 9 here. Georgia is a 6.5-point favorite at home.
I took it already.
I
this
think
screams Lane Kiffin wins this game.
it really does. We talked about it. I think Gunnar Stockton had suffered a concussion last week. I mean, he got hit in the head, smashed his skull on the floor. Didn't particularly play poorly after, but I don't think ever looked good before or after it. I'm curious what. Again, I mean, this is reckless speculation of the highest order, but he literally stood up from hitting the ground doing this like shake the cobwebs loose thing, and I'm like, how is this guy not in the injury tent? Because he doesn't know where he's at. He's shaking his head so much.
So you say that, but I remember I haven't watched enough Gunnar Stockton. I've watched a good amount, but I haven't paid attention enough. I had that same opinion of Cam Scattaboo, and then realized that was just his tick. After every time he got up, he shook his head, or he had a concussion every single play. I don't know, but I did notice that about Scattaboo, so that doesn't bother me anymore. But that was something that I did notice. So
I think Scattaboo is one of those. The lights just aren't always on. Is kind
the lights they're on. There's just nobody home.
I do think this is the game Chambliss looks more like he has been. Yeah. I think the Georgia road environment is severely overrated. There was a lot of talk before they lost to Alabama about they had the nation's longest home winning streak and yada, 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 but they don't really play anyone typically at home. Rarely do they get tough games at home. It's been SEC East. The toughest SEC East opponent they ever had is Florida. They always play that in Jacksonville. So rare do they have big games at home. It's Georgia's not as an environment, something that terrifies me. Again, like you said, they were thoroughly dominant in the first half by a bad Auburn offense. And I can certainly see this being the spot where Lane Kiffin goes in and wins this game. So I'm with you on points there. This game really interests me also in the 3:30 window. It's SMU at Clemson. Clemson looked a whole heck of a lot better this week. Obviously, Boston College being Boston College helps. But they're 9.5-point favorites at home. It feels like both a big number and one that I don't necessarily hate. But I was surprised to see that Clemson's kind of back in those betting good graces as nearly 10-point favorites against an SMU team that has yet to lose in the ACC.
I thought about that game. I debated taking SMU money line as a sprinkle. In that same window, though, I think I'm going to end up on the UNLV taking down Boise State at plus 320. I actually like that line a good bit. So I think I'm more leaning on that one. I think Boise looks fallible. New Mexico was able to hang a good enough number on them. But yeah, I would say Kevin Jennings looks decent. I mean, SMU is SMU. I don't know. I still buy the Clemson offense being able to put up so many points. Good Lord, talk about an angry run from Kareem Hunt. He's getting the scepter this week from Kyle Brandt, no doubt about it. Yeah, that was an angry run, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm saying I don't know. I think Clemson handles it. I think Clemson probably doesn't lose the rest of the year. If they run into Miami and somehow backdoor their way into that ACC title game, I think Clemson could beat them. You imagine if Clemson backdoors their way into the ACC title game again and somehow wins it?
And Dabo would be pounding his chest. Yeah. Texas Tech's at Arizona State, 10.5-point favorites. They're on the road. Are we getting the Jeff Sims experience, or is your guy going to be back?
I hope Sam Leavitt's back. They got thoroughly dominated by Utah in that late game in the rain. It was Dampier. It was a battle of wills. Jeff Sims. If Jeff Sims is playing, it's going to be Texas Tech by 100. We've lived that Jeff Sims experience enough. He's so terrible. I don't know how he's even on a roster still. But,
I don't hate quickly taking this one now at the minus 10.5. And if Leavitt, because if Leavitt doesn't play, then Texas Tech by 1 million. And if he does play, I still think Texas Tech could still cover 10.5. But
yeah, I agree. I don't think Leavitt playing makes it so that they win, is what I'll say. I don't think that's the difference maker in that game.
I don't think so. Any interest in Memphis at a interim coached UAB? 21.5 point favorites there, Memphis.
I saw Trent Dilfer got the can. There was a joke that he's available for the Penn State job if they're looking for him.
Or to run for Senate in Alabama, apparently. Mississippi State at Florida. I'm surprised Billy Napier is still around, given everything that's happened with the. But James Franklin was willing and able to get fired. I'm surprised that's there. Mississippi State was playing well before. I think if they go into the swamp and beat Billy Napier, that could certainly be the end of him there. Florida a 10-point favorite here, which was fairly surprising. Looking at the rest of this list, I would have loved Penn State at Iowa, but I mean, with Franklin fired, I don't particularly want to even touch that game.
So I took Penn State money line. I think that's very viable to take Penn State money line here. Coach gets fired. They're going to have to lean on their guys. They lost their quarterback. We already know Iowa can't throw the football. I think Penn State's defense shows up. They're able to run the ball on the back of Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. And I think that's where I'm perfectly happy taking Penn State money line in that situation.
I don't hate it either. It's just, I mean, the number that really jumped off the page for me here is an over-under of 38.
That makes complete sense, though.
Yeah. It's just to scroll through the list and see 60s, 40s, and 50s, and there's a 38 staring.
There is a 72.5 in there, too.
Yeah, there's some big numbers all over the place.
Give me Oregon, man. Give me Oregon at Rutgers. I will take Rutgers money line as a sprinkle. Plus 490. Actually, did I get them for more than that?
I got them at 16.5-point favorites, Oregon, on the road here.
I got plus 525 is what I got them at. So I'll take Rutgers. Rutgers has good offense. They were able to put up a good amount of points on Washington. The Greek Rifle, Athenian Kaliakmanis, has KJ Duff, DT Sheffield, and Ian Strong on the outside. Antoine Raymond's playing like a man possessed at running back. They have no defense. What we're banking on is that Oregon can't stop them and that Oregon somehow is sleepy or some kind of issues from flying cross country. I think this game's a lot closer. And on certain betting services, if your team gets up 14 on a money line bet, they pay it out quickly. I'm hoping I just get up 14-0 Rutgers early in this one, and then Oregon manages to come back and get the victory. But I think Oregon could get shell-shocked here going. It's not easy to get to Piscataway. That's not an easy place to get to. So and it's not easy to get to Eugene. It's kind of like Happy Valley, man. It's in the middle of nowhere. So getting from Oregon to Piscataway.
Long trips.
That's going to be tough. So I think early in this game, you could see Rutgers take a quick lead and maybe end up cashing out early or so.
I've mentioned 8,000 games on this day, but Texas a 10.5-point favorite at Kentucky. If only Kentucky wasn't so goddamn awful.
They're terrible.
Maryland's at UCLA. UCLA is a favorite, which is, I mean, given where they were 2 weeks ago, it's very surprising.
I don't like Maryland traveling cross country, though.
No, I don't either.
They're not very good either.
But it's very surprising to see UCLA from where they were 2 weeks ago, sitting here as a favorite in any game.
I do like Missouri going to Auburn. They're a dog at Auburn. I think that Auburn comes in as a hangover. I know Missouri just played a lethal game against Alabama, but Alabama's defense is slightly better than Auburn's. Auburn's offense isn't near as good as Alabama's, and Missouri's defense will travel. That is going to be a fun one to check out. I want to see what Pribula looks like bouncing back from that one. Speaking of the Tide, I have taken Tennessee money line playing at the Tide. Tennessee's playing pretty well. I am going to be worried if Deshaun Bishop's out, but they still have Peyton Lewis and Star Thomas. Chris Brazzell did not even show up in the box score, basically. They're slinging the ball all over the yard. I don't know that their defense is any good that can stop Alabama. I think this game probably ends up going over the total, but something similar to that Georgia-Tennessee game, we could very well see Tennessee in this one for the long haul. So at plus 265, it feels like a value there.
Yes. No arguments out of me on that one. I want to just get to this USC at Notre Dame game. It feels like it's the game for the season for both of them. I feel like to me, and I understand that we got the Ole Miss Georgia game. This is the most important game of the day because somebody's getting eliminated, and the other one is going to pretty much punch a ticket to the playoff for me.
So here's the question, right? So along with this game, if USC loses, does that now mean the Big Ten is only getting a max of 3 teams in. Oregon,
Ohio
Ohio
State,
State,
Indiana.
Indiana. That's it. That you got to be done there because Michigan just got eliminated with that loss to USC. USC would get eliminated with this loss to Notre Dame. Penn State's already eliminated. Illinois is already eliminated. So Nebraska's eliminated. Everybody's gone at this point. You are now down to 3 teams. So that means 5 SEC teams. If USC, and that's if USC loses this game. USC wins this game, now we're still at 4-4. But let's just say Oregon gets popped here by Rutgers or something weird happens there. Now we're talking, you're looking at 6 SEC teams, 2 Big Ten teams. And we could legitimately be there. I think this is a year where the SEC being so top heavy and spread out to an extent, they're going to allow them to lose these games. And the Big Ten is so top heavy with like 2-3 good teams that everybody else just kind of beating up on each other is going to destroy the Big Ten in this one. And especially if Notre Dame doesn't get in, now we got even more teams that could get in from them. Like,
I think the SEC's bid's going to depend a lot on who the teams are. Like, I think LSU can get in if they're borderline over a lot of those teams because of the non-conference win at Clemson. I don't think Missouri or Oklahoma without the same. Well, I guess Oklahoma over Michigan.
Oh yeah.
Missouri was Kansas, Texas.
So they're going to let Oklahoma slide too because you got to remember Mateer's coming with the hand injury, and they can just go, well, Mateer was hurt in this game. He had the bad hand, so they're already getting an extra free loss at this point. Then, so they're probably down to what? They probably can lose 2 more games and still get in.
Well, Oklahoma's run here is South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, and LSU to close the year. So
So if they lose to, let's just say they lose to LSU and Alabama in that and win out, they're gonna let them. They'll beat LSU if Mateer's still playing at that point.
That's the Thanksgiving weekend game. I mean, I think it depends on what health and everything looks like at that point for both Mateer and for Nussmeier. But yeah, I mean, I think it's possible. I mean, the Big Ten, those teams are going to make a climb, but it does feel like if USC loses the game, yeah, I would feel pretty comfortable if I was Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, and one of those other like Georgia, LSU, Tennessee. Like I would feel pretty good about being in those spots, considering I mean the ACC at this point has chewed itself up and spit itself out.
Sans Georgia Tech.
Sans Georgia Tech.
If Georgia Tech runs the table and they play Miami in the ACC title game, I think they're both in at that point.
Yeah, I mean that would require them to beat Georgia, but yeah,
that would require them to beat Georgia. Yeah, well, what if their 1 losses to Georgia and they only lose to Georgia and Miami, or maybe they beat Miami? Miami runs the table. They pop against. They beat Miami. Miami will get in. So then you could end up with you could still get 2 ACC teams. I think my bet of 1 Big 12 team, max. There was a bet preseason, 1 over under 1.5 Big 12 teams. Looks really good betting the under on that one. That one I feel very good about. I do not feel very confident about the bet of Penn State to make the Big Ten championship. I'm out on that one. I do want to mention 2 games to close us out here. I'm looking
at 4 more here.
Whoa, okay. You go then, because I have 1 sicko game and I have my favorite game of the year. Please leave it. It's in my favorite conference, but it's my favorite game of the year, and I love it. And
if my parents weren't coming to visit, I'd be going to this FAU USF game in Tampa here. It's a 73.
That was my sicko game.
73.5 point over under.
You dirty dog. That was my sicko game of the week.
Bro, you can't. I mean, that team absolutely deserves the crowd out there. It's such a good team.
That's not going to be the underrated game of the week. That was just the game I was going to talk about next, because sicko game right here. That game, South Florida might go over that total by themselves. FAU is going to sling the rock with Easton Messer just getting 15 catches in this one, and they're going to get destroyed. No, but that's going to be a hell of a fun game. That would be a great game to go to.
The other ones, Utah here at number 15, BYU. Utah road.
Don't take the holy war from me. Oh, that's my favorite game of the year. So Holy War is essentially the greatest game of the year because you don't expect people in Utah to be highly violent. I know past transgressions over the past month or two might speak against that, but typically I have a very upstanding opinion of people in Utah that they're very calm and homely. I find them to be very Midwestern to me. And these Mormons and the regular people at the other school in Utah, they hate each other. There's at least going to be 3 to 5 fights. There's going to be penalties everywhere. This was my favorite game. When they got rid of this game as a yearly rivalry, it hurt my soul because this is appointment television every year. And for this one to be back as a Big 12 staple, I can't wait to watch it. I mean, I love this game. And I think Utah is underrated to an extent because they got smacked by a very good Texas Tech team. I think BYU is vastly overrated. They stink. So Utah, I expect to win by a lot. Utah is not BYU has not played a team of the pulse at this point. So they're going to get destroyed in this game.
Last one I want to mention before we get out of here. Cincinnati is at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is obviously dreadful and the defense is terrible. But I don't want to not talk about Cincinnati, given the year they've had. Obviously, lose the opener to Nebraska in a close game. Sorsby's been great, and their schedule coming up is doable. Right? It's Baylor, it's at Utah, Arizona, BYU at home, and then at TCU. I mean, it's college football. Odds are the team that loses to Nebraska is capable of losing any of those games, but there's nothing on there that screams automatic loss.
Are you what's his Heisman odds?
That's a good question. I don't have it in front of me. Let me pull it up here.
That's what I thought you were getting to. I thought that's where you were going was I figured you were saying can Sorsby win the Heisman?
Well, I was wondering if this is the team that's going to be playing for the Big 12 title against Texas Tech.
I still think it's going to be Utah if I was to guess. That's just I think Utah is vastly superior to every other team in the conference.
They do play head to head, which is part of that. Yes. Let's see. How do I get this? Is called us using the internet here. Awards. Sorsby is way down this list.
I know he could be in play.
Plus 12,000.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's a bad bet.
He's sitting there with Sawyer Robertson, Ruben Bain, Bo Pribula.
Ooh, I would not take Bo Pribula right now. A couple money lines I want to run by you that I've bet that I think are very good options. Purdue as a dog at Northwestern. I like that one a lot. And then finally, I'm going to point this one out. You're going to like this one. I would take this right now. It's a Tuesday game for us degenerates. I would like Arkansas State plus money right now at South Alabama. So Arkansas State's got difference makers with Jalen Rayner at quarterback and Corey Rucker at wide receiver. They have previously beaten Texas State, and South Alabama is nowhere near the team that's Texas State is. And also the sickest of the sick that I can't believe I put money on. I'm pretty certain I have bet this. West Virginia. God knows this is going to sound stupid. I want West Virginia money line at UCF. Any team with Cam Fancher as their starting quarterback, I will fade. Ty Edwards is back for West Virginia. Who's going to play quarterback for West Virginia? I don't know. Good luck. At least it's better than Cam Fancher, number one, and also better than anybody trotting out Sam Jackson as their quarterback. Reminder, kids, friends don't let their friends play Sam Jackson at wide receiver for Men Price. He ended up with negative fantasy points. I wish Brian hadn't told me that I should eat the chalk.
I mean, if it helps, I played him. All of my lineups had him out there. I mean,
I had 0 of him until we started talking about it. And then I was like, I can't miss out in case. But then I should have remembered. I was hearkening back to Lynn Bowden and Greg Ward.
I just kept thinking
and the beauty that it was. And
it's literally the minimum price. How, like, if he gives me 5, I'm still like, well, I punted and got 5. Like, okay.
so
He gave
I'll
me
just have you know,
-2, -1.3 or something.
I scored more fantasy points this weekend than he did, and
Yeah,
I
that's
was
fair.
also min price.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's true. But it's the same thing you would have made for, I mean, if I when I sent you my Nussmeier double stack that should have had Trades Green in it, that would have
I
finished
didn't
top
make fun of you.
20. You were like, "Where is your brain?" And here you're like, "Oh,
No,
well,
I did
look at
not say that. I did not say that. I said, I wish I had some of the crazy in your brain so I could end up on some of these teams.
that." I wish
All
I
right.
had the
I'm
crazy in
trying
your
to
brain.
harness what you're thinking
I
so
just
that
needed
I can figure out how to get here.
I needed the part of my brain that wanted Trades and the part of your brain that wanted the Kansas tight end to come together.
The fact that I played Brody. Oh, we got to fight on the field, boys. We got to fight on the field. We're going to have some fines and a lot of money changing hands, less than changed hands between the Penn State alumni and James Franklin, but the NFL will be making plenty of donations to a lot of charities in the near future. Oh, there's punches being thrown. Okay. Well, that's a good way to wrap a show. We talked about Utahns and Mormons fighting. That will happen. And we also talked about violence in the NFL, which is now occurring currently on our screens. We look forward to bringing you content the rest of this week. I will be on the usual schedule of a 9 a.m. live show each day for the rest of the week, except for Friday. We will have a slight schedule change. I'll be live that evening more than likely. I'm playing golf with some people from out of town, also known as our friend Andre from wherever the hell he's flying in from, because he moves
Jersey.
around more than anybody I know. No, I thought he wasn't he in Washington, or did he move to Jersey
Move
again?
the Jersey.
Okay, well, there you go. So this is how this goes. You know what I mean? I just let him fly in and I figure it out when I get there. But I'll be live all week. I'll have the underrated game of the week. I already know what game I'm picking. No hints. So good luck to everybody. Remember, we'll have Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, Pat Mahomes. Oh, no. Oh, that was Juju got hit in the face. You can't hit Doo-Doo Piss Smith Pooster like that. All right, boys. Y'all have a good one. I will see y'all later. Thank you for Brian joining us. We missed him last week, but I managed to hold down the fort. We'll see you.